That person is a Richmond native and is owner of Black Dog Printing and Tarot Tattoo with his wife, Aria Blair. Please welcome to our stage, Jon Bottorff.
Hi. So my name is Jon Bottorff, and as he said, my wife and I own Black Dog Printing and Tarot Tattoo. And to get there was an insanely long and hard road, and I'll go over that as briefly as possible. Let's see, it was September 7th of 2015. It was my 32nd birthday, and my daughter had just been born for the most part. And let's see. I went out with my friends and I got extremely drunk, as I normally did on my birthday or any other day like that. And as I was going home, I was a block away from my house, and the red lights flashed behind my car, and I ended up in jail that night. That light is terrible right there. Sorry. Yeah. So I ended up in jail, and I missed my daughter's first birthday, which was the absolute lowest point of my entire life. Of all the dumb things I've ever done, it was pretty terrible. And before that, all through my 20s, I've played in a punk rock band. That's pretty much all I've ever done with like my adult life, and that's all I ever knew. I've trashed hotel rooms. I've done a lot of really crazy, stupid things and thrown things out of hotel rooms and all sorts of fun stuff. And that was kind of like the whole life that I was used to, and that's what I did, and that's what I knew. And being a parent was absolutely foreign and alien to me. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And, you know, that was just one of those moments in your life to miss their first birthday because you're an idiot and you refuse to grow up. And that was a defining moment in my life. And while I sat in jail, I just really sat down and thought as hard as I possibly could about why I did that and what I was going to do, and is that who I wanted my daughter to remember, or what did I want my daughter to think of me? So when I got out and we got home, I went back to my boring 9-to-5 job, and I worked really, really hard. I started putting in like 70-hour weeks and all that, and because of the arrest, my wife and I had lost everything that we had ever had in our entire lives. We lost our house, we lost our car, we lost every single penny that we had to legal fees and lawyers, everything like that comes along with getting arrested. So we ended up living in a basement, with no windows, just concrete floor, and it was pretty much, we were at the bottom, and we had to figure out how we were going to change that and do something better and make a better life for this crazy little girl that some of you have seen around here. So all through like playing in a punk rock band or anything like that, I've been into screen printing for over 10 years now, and that's how we made money on the road, was printing t-shirts or anything like that so we could sell them and make a couple bucks and maybe get some fast food or beer. And that's what I knew how to do. So I had this really bad rickety single color press. And we set it up in the basement, and we just started printing shirts. And we'd sell them dirt cheap, and we had to cure the ink. The ink is like essentially like a plastic in a liquid form, and you have to cure it up to 320 degrees. So we had a hairdryer that we would stand there for like 10 minutes per shirt, just going over it to try to get it to set if we could. I'm sure most of those shirts have washed out by now. And we just kept going and going and going. And I would work 14-hour days at a 9-to-5 job, just put everything I had into it, and then I'd get home and I'd work until 2 o'clock in the morning making shirts, and we just never stopped. And it just kept growing and growing and growing, and after a while, my wife started a tattoo apprenticeship, and she started learning the trade, I guess. We're both artists, and that's all we've ever really known, and that's all we've ever really done. And I don't know how many art students we have in here, but if you're an art student, you got to kind of figure out how am I going to make money with this degree or with this life. Yeah, it doesn't really, it doesn't pay the best, unless you work for Nickelodeon or Disney or something, I guess. But So she ended up in an apprenticeship with like insane people, like the craziest people you could ever imagine. People that wore like kilts with no underwear, covered in tattoos, you know, just smelled terrible and long, nasty hair and insanity. Like these guys were coked out of their mind and had no business doing what they were doing. But yeah, that was there's a lot to tattooing, and to be a woman in that field is not fun. And she made it. She did it. She passed it, and she beat the odds. And now she has her own shop of, you know, and then it's doing quite well, which is awesome for her. I don't know. I think there's probably a couple of you in here that have some of her tattoos. But I started playing hooky for my day job a lot because you know, I was just insanely busy, and what started out was kind of like a hobby or to make some extra money just kind of took over. So I would call into work and I would end up printing shirts, and I just kept doing them more and more and more. And I ended up walking around downtown, and I walked around down here, and we actually we ended up finding a small place down on the promenade. It was bare bones. There was nothing in there. The plumbing didn't work. The lights didn't turn on. Nothing worked. Nothing. It was terrible. So then we went from staying up all night printing shirts to staying up all night painting walls, building, repairing drywall, and fixing plumbing. We didn't know how to fix plumbing, but we knew a couple of people that did, and they helped us out. And ultimately, we ended up having our own 2 shops. And so I was like, I had this cool shop that I like to be in, and I like to do stuff at, and I like to work out of, but I still had a 9-to-5 job because I, needed to pay bills, and to make the leap onto just being your own boss is drastic and huge, and yeah, it can be really intimidating. And you don't know if you're gonna succeed. There's no paycheck or anything like that sometimes, and you're just like, wow, how am I gonna pay rent? This is terrible. I was an idiot. And see, my wife held a fundraiser for LGBTQ rights one time, and during that period, I designed a small sticker. It was a funny little sticker that said, something about senators, kind of, they do whatever they want. They impose the rules. And I don't know, maybe some of you have seen it. So the night before her big event, we just kind of posted this sticker online, and then all of a sudden, it started going crazy. And it got like well over 1 million views and shares on Facebook and whatnot. And we were watching this counter on our website, and it just started going and going and going. And we saw this thing just take off. And we were selling 2 stickers every minute for about 72 hours, easy. And then I think at that point we were like, you know what, we could probably do this. This is kind of cool. So we ended up, I was pretty good friends with my boss at my day job. He wasn't a terrible guy or nothing. I remember giving him my letter of resignation. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." That was pretty cool. I don't know. That was the best job. That was the best one I ever quit, and the best feeling I ever had quitting, because I knew I was walking away with something. And there was that feeling of always missing my daughter's birthday. I knew I would never be able to get that back, and I had to make that up to her. So I worked really, really hard, and I've continued to do so, and I will continue to do so, to put myself in a position to where now I am my own boss, and I set my own hours, and no matter what, nobody will ever make me miss another birthday of hers. Nobody can ever stop me again. Thank you.